My content's not for kids!
Is this an occult video or is this a rant video? Hi everyone, Joe March here, and today we're going to talk about something crazy, because that's kind of what my channel's about. No, wait, something cringy. There's a lot of people out there in the world, and I used to be one of them, and I still sometimes am guilty of this, who feel like if somebody is right about something, then they're right about everything they say, and if somebody is wrong about something, then they're wrong about everything they say, and that's just not the case. Or that if someone has the wrong idea about something, then they've got the wrong idea about everything, and that's just not how it works. You can have someone who's wise but has one whacked out belief, and that's fine, and all that wisdom is still good stuff, and that whacked out belief is something you can be like, well, that guy's weird in that way, but the other stuff he's saying is pretty good, and I don't see enough people doing that. And I know a lot of people out there are like, you're talking about yourself because you changed some beliefs, but you still got good. I'm not talking about myself, guys. I'm talking about the fact that when I point the finger at someone else's crazy belief, then all of a sudden other people are like, well, if they're wrong about everything, then how about this? Like, I didn't say they're wrong about everything, guys. I said they're wrong about this one thing. One thing. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about my Reggie Interviews Joseph March Why I Left Occultism video, which is my way of telling the old community, who is mostly my new community, so, be careful not to piss anybody off, but it's my way of telling the old community what happened in a kind of an easy, little bit more laid-back way, and what my views are now. And a lot of you guys were very respectful of that. Some of you even agreed with it. Some people are still doing their occult stuff, and that's cool. They're just like, cool, that's what you're doing now, that's fine. Some people even gave me some cryptic little messages. I actually liked those a lot. Here's specifically one of my favorite ones. Eventually one realizes that what is going on in your mind and outside of it are not different as you experience the world totally inside yourself. So while you say Tiamat was a part of you or in your mind, so is your son and wife. Anyone who starts on the path never gets off of it. You are on it for life. I love that type of stuff. That's like poetic. It's got this metaphorical meaning, if nothing else. It may have even greater meaning than that. It's one of those things where you hear it and you go, and it just makes you think. It makes the wheels turn. I got a lot of messages like that. I got a lot of messages that were just like, hey, great to hear from you, stuff like that. Well, I made this video. It's kind of a simple video just to give everybody kind of that meat of what exactly happened to me. I made a much more detailed video that I just put on my Patreon. Haha, there's a reason to bring up the Patreon. And also special thanks to my Circle of Magi. So if you're somebody who does join the Patreon and becomes a patron, there are videos that I go into more detail. There's only one so far, but there will be. And that video I go into specific details about how specifically delusional some of my ideas were. But if you're somebody who does actually feel like a fan of me or wants to know more about my life, then the Patreon is the right place for that stuff. So anyway, I made the video basically to explain how I'm out of what I consider the occult, and I am no longer a believer in the all, the source, stuff like that. I've become an atheist who's an existentialist. I wasn't claiming that it's the right path. I wasn't claiming that your path is wrong. I was just telling people what my path is. But people start coming to me with questions. That's fine, except that some of the questions act like I said everything that anyone's ever said who was a magical guru type person is wrong. As if to say, oh, because I think that there aren't entities out there, that someone else who believes in entities, every one of their teachings must be wrong. That's the polar opposite of what I was saying. What I was saying is that I didn't know that these things were inside of my mind, and so I very well could assume these things. Other people don't realize that either. And the information they were giving me was subconscious information, things that I had kind of learned on my own through experience and was telling myself. And so if someone else is getting that kind of information and you find that information helpful, you're still hearing somebody's experiences. You're still hearing somebody else's wisdom. It doesn't stop being wisdom just because of the source they got it from changes. I'm just saying the source isn't what they think it is. I get people asking me about Jesus and Buddha and stuff like that. And like, how do you explain these fictional characters? I'm going to piss some people off by saying that. But in my view, it's like, you might as well be asking me how I explain Magneto now that I don't believe that I can have magnetic powers. Like, it doesn't... You're talking about what I consider a fictional character. Now, I get that for some people, that's not the case. I get Buddha is not exactly a fictitious character, but the point is, the idea of these certain powers ascribed to, say, Jesus that could have been a real man, but do we know that he supposedly actually walked on some kind of water? Or Buddha, or any of these figures? Like, why aren't you asking me about Hercules? He's a fictitious religious figure that could have been based on a real person too. Do you expect that the son of Zeus is out there and he's got mighty strength? The thing is that, like, to me, all of these things are in the same category. It's mythology. So I don't need to explain to you how that character could still have powers, because I don't believe the character had real power. I don't believe necessarily there was even a real person. And if it was, I think what happens is a story gets exaggerated over time. And then if you look at how the church affected things, well, we're not going down that rabbit hole right now. Then you got other people like, well, how do you explain Trebor 7? Trebor 7 is a fake. Come on, man. He does not have the ability to use telekinesis. I'm sorry. I explain all these government experiments. Dude, I was experimenting. I came up with the result at this point that I don't believe any of that stuff was real. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't have experimented to find out. Here's a great one. Go tell all shamans that ever existed that they're fake loonies then. I'm pretty sure I just did. The video is right there. You're acting like this is not something I just did. I just stepped out of my comfort zone and said, hey, I now believe this thing that would be controversial to a lot of my former viewers, but I gotta be honest with myself. And you're like, well, why don't you tell them? I did. This one says, astral travel's real. You're not doing it correctly. Maybe so, but that's the point. The practices that I was following didn't turn out to be real. So if there are real practices that can do the things you're talking about, I wasn't doing them. That was the point of the video. If there are real ways to do it, it's not the way I was doing it. Therefore, don't follow in the footsteps of what I was doing. I don't understand how this is confusing to everybody. I'm not saying these things couldn't be possible if you've had an experience where you believe something has happened. I'm not saying that your experience is invalidated by my experience. I'm telling you, in my experience, the things that I tried and talked about for years ended up proving to me to not be true. There's plenty of other stuff out there to explain those same things if you believe in them. I just don't at current. This says shamans enter higher realms and bring out the dream body into the physical realm. Yeah, I go to sleep at night too, dude. How do you explain kids talking about their past lives? Because I don't believe in past lives in the first place. And I have a kid and I've seen he talks about a bunch of random crazy ideas that pop out of his head. That doesn't mean they're real. What about when people are possessed and then a shaman saves them? Yeah, I know. It's almost like I said, it's a mental thing that you're actually interfacing with. In other words, these practices do work on your mental problems. You see, I'm not saying these practices don't work. I'm saying that these entities aren't what I thought they were. This one says, when the channelers and magicians watch this shit, they're going to be so butthurt laughing my ass off. You are correct. I got a lot of people who watched this and were fine with it. I got a lot of people who said, I'm just not going to say it. I had a lot of people who gave me a little bit of their feedback in a nice way. And I don't actually consider any of these past comments to be bad comments. They're just people expressing their opinions. But the problem that maybe I'm not doing a good job of illustrating here, and that I've seen in other comment sections for other topics, I'm just using my own video as an example, is this idea that if you come at somebody and say, I don't believe X, they say, well, then how do you explain Y? There's a difference between saying you don't believe something and you do believe something. If you say, like, I do believe that things really work this way, and you go, well, that doesn't solve every case, that's important. But if you say, I don't believe in this one explanation for everything, you say, well, then how do you explain it? I say, I don't know. That should be the end. I don't know how it actually works, but I've disproven this one set of rules. I don't need to prove a new set of rules to disprove an old set of rules. If it don't work, it don't work. If I believe that if I throw a ball, it'll go straight forever, but then I throw it and it arcs down into the ground, I don't need to actually understand gravity to realize that my original first belief was false. This is what I'm talking about. I disproved my old beliefs. Now I'm on to some new shit. That's it. I still watch a lot of the same people. I still find a lot of great value in the old shamans and things like that, and the old wisdom of the ages, because it's just that. It's wisdom of the ages. It's what people use to get by in day-to-day life. And when you look into your own psyche in this way, you're finding out truths about the self. Finding out truths about other people's experiences like that is valuable. All of it is valuable. It's just not magical. Why am I getting bent out of shape about this? I shouldn't be. I get the little beep, 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 beep. Hey, you got a message, and I read it, and I go, do I even want to bother responding to this? And then I go, you know what? Let me go ahead. Let me jump out of my comfort zone and try to respond to this. And then I respond to it, and then it's like, okay, whatever. They either agree with me or not. I don't really care. But then sometimes it's just the repetitiveness of it. It's how many times this same type of question comes up. If you ask me a question like, hey, man, out of curiosity, what do you think about this? That's cool. But it's always coming at you like, if you are an atheist, then how do you explain how the firmament is above the earth? And I'm like, that's not a thing. That's not even a thing. Where are you coming from? They're like, if you're believing in this, then how come the earth is flat? And I'm like, the earth isn't flat, dude. Come on. And the thing is, I think people think that they're making a valid argument, and they don't realize that what they're saying just sounds like crazy stuff. And maybe some of what they're saying is right, but when you come at people like that, like, how do you explain my theories? But you don't give your explanations of any of those theories first, or you don't try to have an actual conversation, it just comes across sounding like a crazy person. This is basically all Twitter is on both sides. You got people on the left and people on the right that are like, hey man, here's my idea, splat. This other person's like, I disagree with that. They're like, well, fuck you. You're like, okay, you guys aren't having a discourse. There's no conversation here. So to get back around to what I was talking about before about wisdom being there, even if you believe something that might be considered crazy to me, for example. I like this guy named Tobias Lars. His channel is great. He's always talking about different ways to be kind to one another, different ways to take a conscious breath, to breathe in, decide on what you want, focus your intention, stuff like that. All these practices are great. He believes there are reptile aliens at the center of the earth, which are working toward controlling everything in the government, and I don't. But when he's not talking about that, the other stuff he's talking about is on point. I don't have a problem separating out someone's crazy ideas from someone's good ideas. And sometimes you may even convince me something I used to think was a crazy idea was a good idea. But the point is, I don't have to believe that this person is either all the way right or all the way wrong. They don't have to be either telling me the truth or lying to me. They are just telling you what they believe, and some of their beliefs are wrong. All of us have wrong beliefs. I have wrong beliefs. Some of what I've been spouting out here is wrong. I'm sure somebody here called me out on something, and I'm sure that some of the people here that I'm bringing up, they weren't even trying to cuss me out. They were just literally like, well, how do you explain this then? And I'm taking like, how do you explain this? But that's just because that's the only examples I can find. I don't have a ton of examples from my channel, but I see it more on other people's channels. I see this kind of spiteful wanting to disprove everything or prove everything, wanting to defend your own belief system. Let's put it that, wanting to defend your own values. And when something says maybe one thing you believe is not right, you attack every possible angle. You're like, well, if that wasn't right, then these other things would have to be wrong too, and I know this one is right, so everything I believe is right. You're like, no, you know that one is right, so you know that one is right. You don't know all this right. You're sticking stuff together that doesn't go together. You're trying to put Duplos and Legos in the same collection, man. I don't know, is this a rant video or is this an occult video? I really don't know. I really wish I was making a pickle video right now. That video was more fun. You see, this is cool. This is like Hero Forge. They let you design your own minis. So I've got like this, I don't even know if I can zoom in on this right. Got like this DeKeldor mini. He looks a lot like him. It's pretty close. I was like, that's pretty cool. That has nothing to do with our topic. I just wanted to lighten the mood a little bit. There's a new dinosaur. It's like the Reaper of Death or some shit. That's a cool name. All right, I'm sorry. This is how passionate I am about the subject. I'm totally able to stay on topic. You know, it's hard to be passionate about comments from people that you think like, why are you asking me this? But at the same time, I just felt like I needed to bring this up. I needed to say, hey guys, what do you think about this? What is going on in the mind of most people today? Because I have done it too. What is it that says, if somebody says they disagree with something you believe in, and even if their belief is crazy, like, let's say somebody comes up to me and they're like, you know what? I know you're wrong because I've met the reptile alien. Like, I don't believe them automatically, obviously. So I would just be like, this is a crazy person. But then if everything else they say sounds good, I don't then go, well, maybe their reptile thing is true too. That's not how it works. I'm just like, they got one weird belief. That's it. If you fall into that, like, if 90% of what someone says is good, then the other 10% must be good too, you're going to get had a lot. And I just see so many people falling into this trap. People can both mean well and have bad information. You don't have to, it's not everybody's a villain who tells you something that's not true. Some of the things you guys are quoting as like, this is proof of this thing, is people who are obviously fakes and are trying to make a buck. And some of the things are people like myself who were under a sort of delusional period in their life, and you're using them as backup for your own belief. You see, you got to be careful because more people believe in delusional stuff than you think. I mean, most people believe that society's rules actually matter beyond just being written on a piece of paper somewhere. That's fake too. So when I say like entities aren't real, I'm talking about like, you know, I'm not going, no, this is a rant video. This is a rant. Pickles taste delicious. I got these sunglasses for free. They don't really do it for me. But, you know, they're sunglasses. You know, on the old channel, I used to get people that were like, magic? You talking about this stuff, right? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, no, I'm not talking about no card bullshit. And then they'd be like, but those guys have demons possessing them. What? This is the other side of that coin that I can't really explain to most people. Is I used to talk to so many people who were involved in the occult, and for every 99 people who have their head on, we'll say straight, but you know, we're all a little bit askew. There's that one guy who's way out there in crazy land. But the thing is, when you have 20,000 subs like I did, those guys all find you and talk to you. So I've talked to a lot of really crazy people in the community. Now, I have also talked to way more extremely intelligent, extremely wise people. So if you're listening to this and you're a fan of mine, you're one of those good ones. But what I'm saying is that there's a certain number of people where you listen to them and you're like, no matter how open a mind I have, this is crazy. And I've spent enough time talking to those people to where now I just don't have any patience when somebody's like, well, how do you prove this one theory? It's like, dude, I don't know if you're the crazy person or the sane person. I just don't know. I don't have time to worry about proving other people's stuff or defending a position based on what non-personal evidence you have. Because most of the things that are getting talked about here are, I heard a story about this, or a lot of people believe this. If you have personally experienced the thing, then I'm interested. If you can use telepathy, if I can get on a Skype with you and you can float an object, then I'm interested. If you're talking about you read a book somewhere where a guy back in China 100 years ago said another guy did telepathy, I don't care. You got it? I don't care about that. If you know how to do it, if you have special ability and you can just do it, well, then that's interesting. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. It's not proof. It's not proof. You can't say like, all these people in the past used to believe a thing is real. How do you explain that? Well, we believed a bunch of crazy shit in the past. We used to believe that viruses and things like that were curses that were cast on people instead of being airborne germs and shit. And then even when people started getting smarter about it and they started to realize, okay, maybe if I breathe the same air as you, I'm going to catch the sick, right? And they changed it to like, illness instead of curses. They still didn't know about germs, but they knew it wasn't curses. They knew it was spread somehow, and they knew that seemed being in close proximity to people caused it. They put together enough to know the old idea was wrong and to head toward the new idea. And that's all I'm talking about. That's how it works. I put the old idea to bed. I'm moving toward the next thing. The next thing could still include some weird shit. I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it's not those old things. I think I'm talking about two different subjects here. I keep intermittent. Little banana boy. I don't even know what that was. Man, did I just throw all of these cards? Damn it. Guess I'm playing 52 card pickup tonight. That's it. That's all. I don't know. I don't know if there was a point to this video. This is definitely a rant. I don't know if there's a point to this video. I don't know if anybody liked this video. Who knows? Till next time, safe travels.